Welcome to Expect More with Dr. Andrea, the podcast where we cut through the noise and get real about healthcare, physical therapy, and what it means to truly take charge of your health in today's ever-changing world. I'm Dr. Andrea Davis, physical therapist, straight shooter, and your go-to for no-fluff conversations that challenge the status quo. From the front lines of patient care to the big picture changes in the system, we're diving into what's working, what's not, and how you can expect more for yourself, your care, and your life. Real talk, real solutions, no settling. Let's get into it. Hello and welcome to Expect More with Dr. Andrea. I am the host, Andrea Davis, physical therapist, and I am so excited to talk to my friend Kevin Martin, CEO and founder of the QUICKBOARD, which is one of the staples at my practice that I now cannot live without. So Kevin, please tell everyone about yourself and how we got here.
All right. So as Andrea said, my name is Kevin Martin. I'm founder and CEO of QUICKBOARD. I actually started out on the performance side. So I was a performance coach, kind of mid 2000s, a long time ago, and was introduced to kind of a concept version of what is now the QUICKBOARD, actually trained on it and saw some significant performance improvements. And so because of that, really started diving into it and took the reins, with the technology and created the company. And, here we are,
The
launched
rest
on the,
is history.
launched on the strength conditioning side. And then it quickly transitioned over with pro teams and college teams to the athletic training rooms. And then of course to physical therapy. And frankly, over the past, 10 plus years, I feel like we solve more pain points and provide significant value on the physical therapy side. So that's really where our focus has been, is improving outcomes and helping clinicians do that.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's my story of how we got connected came from Trent Nestler and my quest really to try and put numbers on all pieces of an athlete, right? So I had the biomechanics down that we were getting numbers, and I'm like, how do we, instead of counting like foot fires, like staring at it and be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, how can we put numbers on this that we can push our athletes to improve? So when he introduced me, he's like, you need to talk to Kevin, check this out. And I think it took one conversation maybe. And I was like, I'm in, send me a board. Let's go. Let's see what happens. Straight up, the day we got the board, I'll never forget this actually. The day we got the board, Antoinette was downstairs and I was upstairs. The board came and I had it upstairs and already out of the box within probably 10 minutes of delivery. And she had texted me. She's like, hey, by the way, I think that thing you were waiting for came. I was like, girl, I already have it out of the box and I'm like on it, man. It was awesome. Obsessed. So
Good.
yeah,
Happy
no,
to hear.
super excited. So how did you get the, like, you know what I mean? Like the production, like the thought process for me is pretty straightforward in sports. You need to be able to tell your brain to tell your legs what to do based on external stimuli, really.
Yeah,
It's I don't know what people don't understand about it. That's the part that I'm like, you know, bonkers about.
me too. Me too.
Yeah, so how's that journey been? Like starting a performance, like how did you kind of start to see that? Was it like an easy lift to get performance into athletic training, or was that like, a heavier lift to explain it?
To be honest, it was easier because I launched the company in 2009. So it was early
Okay. Yeah.
in terms of data collection and those sort of things. Had before the technology even launched, had a study published in the Journal of Strength Conditioning Research, because the first thing I thought as one being skeptical is somebody's going to look at it and be like, how is that going to help me? So had that study published right before we launched it that showed just after 4 weeks of training on it compared to a control group, that the QUICKBOARD significantly increased laser time whole body change of direction. And then we had follow-up studies after that. And frankly, on the rehab side, athletic training, physical therapy, I think they were looking for more, controlled sort of, tools that they could use to objectively track progress.
Okay.
Where performance, they got it figured out. Oh, we'll go do some agility drills and that sort of thing. But the athletic trainers and physical therapists, were, really piqued their interest in terms of the objective side of things. And then, of course, the aspect that it improves the outcomes through external focus. And that's like you said, that's the biggest, I think, hurdle some people have is not really being familiar with motor learning, research that's shown over 20 plus years that, external focus is more likely to transfer to other tasks compared to internal focus. So looking down at what your feet are doing, if you're on like a dot drill or if you're doing ladders, good, they're helpful. But as motor learning, uh, you know, teaches is you want to be focused on the outcome of that movement, right? Looking
Yeah.
ahead and not looking down at what your feet are doing because that's the way the body works. I mean, so you need to, test, train, and rehab the body in that same way so that you're targeting the same pathways. When you're looking down at what your feet are doing, now all of a sudden it's a different task and less likely to transfer.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, right? So I played sports my whole life since I was 7 years old. I coached sports, coached at a college level. Like one of the hardest things I think to transition is that sports specificity in an objective way, like, gameplay simulation, essentially. So one of the things I've been chasing, which is why I thought, this like changed my whole world. And really, I see it in the world of concussion just as much as just lower extremity rehab, which is body control, is how do you take somebody in limited space. And you were at our old office, which was like nothing. It was like a closet, really, and we like jammed all this stuff in there. So how do you execute these big, football, basketball, like these big movements, sprints and whatnot, and try and tie that into, oh, you're a middle infielder, so you need to have a lateral like nobody's business. And you need to have a lateral like nobody's business by watching when the ball comes off the bat, if it's going to the left or the right of you. And how do you program your vision to tell your legs what to do? There's no infielder worth their salt that's going to be staring at their feet, right? Waiting for the ball to be hit. So how do we train that? And that was the most exciting thing for me that I like immediately clicked as to how we could utilize the QUICKBOARD to improve our rehab outcomes, and that motor programming and that learning curve massively accelerated beyond what I expected, to be honest with you.
Yeah, well, I'm happy to hear that. And not to mention, you got to crawl before you walk, right? So you've got that limited space that you're working in. I mean, yes, we do have the studies showing transferability to whole body movement tasks, but the key is you've got to crawl before you walk. Start with simple movements, then speed those movements up, and then
Yes.
make them more complex by adding those, kind of layering those various cognitive processes on top of that.
Yeah, and it's it translates for both the, and I want to make sure I get this out too, because everybody thinks athletics right away, and that's what we talk, mostly about. But we have a very large percentage of our patient population that we see that is falls prevention, cognitive impairments, concussive behavior, which is, the sluggish motor learning where there's no pain involved. So, orthopedic injuries, you can definitely, hey, does that bother you? You can slow the pace down and then accelerate. But some of these unseen neurocog motor planning things, you can objectively measure progressions on that with the use of the QUICKBOARD. And our older population loves it just as much as the younger population, which I know you love to hear. So I want to make sure I get that in there.
Yeah, yeah, no, again, happy to hear that from you. And I mean, just to further, what you're speaking to is we did a clinical kind of a pilot study with the stroke population with the neurology department here at a hospital in Memphis, along with University of Memphis, and created what you have in your software, the Balance Protocol,
Yes.
in the app, and that was created for that study. And I think one thing that was exciting about the study is one, we actually had to make another progression because the patients were progressing so quickly through there. And second of all, I mean, this was kind of a sad part about it is once the data collection was concluded, the the patients were they wanted to keep training on the QUICKBOARD, but the professor and those in the neurology department were like, sorry, but this is like,
We maxed out.
yeah. So it's anyone who has, really, lower extremity function, vision, no matter your level, we're able to accommodate that, with the QUICKBOARD. You can program now up to a 10-second delay in the software. So whether
Which
it's
is
a
awesome.
predetermined sequence or a reaction, we can limit the number of sensors you're reacting to, and slow it down to where if they press the sensor, they can wait 10 seconds. I mean, originally for that study, it was 5 seconds, and it's a long time. And that was good
Yeah.
enough for that population.
But even as low level as things like weight shifting, right? So the time to weight shift, I mean, these are the numbers that we're talking about on a clinical side of things, especially in PT. Again, it's a no-brainer for me. If I'm wanting to know what we're doing is improving their ability to weight shift, their ability to weight bear on a single leg extremity, what does that look like? What are the cheat strategies? And then how can we deconstruct those? Those are the things that I think are missed sometimes with the use of the QUICKBOARD that aren't always kind of like dove or dive, whatever language you use, like dig into like the root of what it's capable of. The capabilities are ridiculous, and I know my colleague Taylor is still to this day obsessed with it and obsessively looking for more ways to expand. Um, Specifically for that older population and that's challenged a little bit in the balance department, because the athletes, it makes sense easily, right? Like foot fires, patterns, and moving around as fast as possible, improving your cut time. ACLs, it's like a staple across the board for us, like which is another one of my favorite things is the way that it's staged out in progressions. So if you could speak a little bit about your like the programming, like kind of the thought process behind that, that would be awesome.
Yeah. So the way that, for instance, like with that population, we created that balance protocol. And, for the first, progression or, playlist is, we implement a longer delay. So when you press the sensor, then, there's going to be a delay time before the next stimuli appears. And at the same time, we're simplifying, the movements. Whereas in the reaction exercises, we're limiting to the front two sensors, and then we limit to the back two sensors, and then we start isolating left side, right side. So we're slowly building them to be more comfortable, reacting front to back, left to right. And so I think that's part of it's like anyone else, like you have to build their confidence first to be competent, and then they're going to perform better as they progress. So, limited sensor locations and delay times in the first, playlist. And then what we do is, for progression, we reduce those delay times and then start opening up, different, sensor locations they're reacting and moving to. And so now it's not just isolated, movement planes. Now it's, multiple planes of movements and implementing that transverse, plane. So, and then it's speeding it up as well.
Yeah, I
Eh,
mean, like the complexities, right? So each level is a little bit more taxing than the previous.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're, making the exercises longer. So you're programming longer time. So, instead of just like a, 10-second or 20-second, you can bump it 30-second to a minute. And you can make it a lot longer if you want to. But there's really no cap on how long an exercise can be. But, again, yeah, it's, building the competence, and then, really increasing those demands within those exercises and playlists.
So I will tell you, like for our practice, for my practice, it is has been the best complement to use with our 3D wireless sensor system, Dorsa V system, our friend Trent system, which basically for lateral jumping, the
Mhm.
QUICKBOARD hands down has accelerated our ability to improve scores within the Dorsa V system. And I know that's something that we were talking about a few years ago, like to see like what that looked like. Utilizing the QUICKBOARD for visual stimuli to train that lateral forward, that jump pattern to control. And then are we seeing direct impact and accelerating what those, the valgus collapse looked like, because it was just more in like in learned training for those patterning, um, right? For the most part.
Yeah, yeah, and I think just to reinforce kind of the correlations that you're seeing there, we had a university that just completed a validation study on the agility rating, which is our four exercise
Yes, my
assessment.
fave.
We're looking at movement efficiency in terms of left and right side movement speed, and then we're looking at reaction, symmetry, explosiveness, and then proprioception accuracy based on how many errors that they're getting with the stagger step and the double leg react. And so what they found was, again, I was like, let's get it in black and white. We knew internally from athletes we had been
I
working
have
with
to. Yeah.
for extended periods that we chose those exercises for a reason. But of course, we, will put it into research, whether it's as an intervention or an assessment, and, just so there's no doubt. And so what the university found was the agility rating was highly correlated with broad jump off force plate, also the star drill, T test, and the 5-10-5. So
Yes.
that will be published, later this year. And in the end, it's proving we're actually assessing, agility and force production. And that's what, PTs, ATCs, even strength coaches, I mean, that's what you need. And you need something that's time efficient to do, because otherwise, guess what? You're probably not going to do it as much as you should. And because if you can have the best test in the world, but for some, if it takes a while, they're just going to procrastinate and not do it. However, there are cases where you know those tests that do take time, I mean, there's significant value there, and sometimes you've just got to invest that time into it to improve the outcomes and value to the patients and athletes.
Yeah, I mean, like just putting in the context of healthcare, I would challenge any PT anywhere to, reach out to me, even specifically about how this piece could not be valuable or, provide more value to their clientele or patients, regardless of the category that they fall in, whether it's all sports or ortho or neuro or whatever it is, because the truth of our job is we get paid way less to do way more. And we need to be thoughtful and creative about things that we introduce into our treatment plans that are going to help create efficiencies and progression, if that makes sense. It feels like maybe I said a lot of big words, but I mean, the whole point for this is QUICKBOARD is giving a visual stimuli on an iPad, and my feet are being directed based on what I'm seeing on the board. So as my feet are moving and we're putting numbers on that, it can be a workout, it can be a test, it can be a baseline, but there is value in that. And it helps me like steering away from just doing, like, we still do some cone work and we do ladder work, just, whatnot. But this has allowed a more condensed, intense training time that mimics and matches pretty close to the intensity that you would have in your sport if you program it right. I mean, hands down, one of the best things that's happened to our practice, hands down.
Thank you. Well, it was interesting. A long time ago, what we found is with the gait speed exercise that's in there,
Mm-hmm.
uh, if you program, it was 300 touches. That is about equivalent to a 400-meter outcome.
Wow.
Correlation between those two. So if you really want to torture somebody,
I do.
then
Always love torturing people.
you program it for that 300 touches, and then of course you get dinged. I mean, if you don't get if
Clean.
you start getting errors, then you're not getting working up that count to 300. So it's reinforcing proper movement strategy as well.
Well, my favorite, hands down, my favorite athlete to put on the QUICKBOARD and challenge them is football. because they come in all big and bad and they're like, Psh, I got this. And then you put a series of activities in there and they're like, what is this? They start yelling out loud. We put my like one of the best things of that as well is the ability to turn the volume up. So when you get that like
Yeah.
that,
Yes.
I repeat out loud on the floor when somebody hits a I'm like and then you hear it multiple times. It's amazing, and it's keeps them humble real fast. So it's
That's why,
definitely
yeah, that's why we try to keep it just a nasty analog type sounds. Everybody's like, stop, stop.
yeah. No, I turn it up. So the kids will turn it down on the side and I'll watch them on there. I'm like, there's no way you're clean. And I'll walk over and turn it up and I want it as loud as possible. They're like, that's embarrassing. I'm like, yeah, it's kind of the point, motivating. So this is a safe space.
Hey, you got to perform on the field. Everybody's going to see it there.
Yes, exactly. Suck it up, Buttercup, and get on with it. No, it's
That's
amazing. I mean, it's amazing. Like when you talk, because I know you go to conferences and like you do a fair amount of work. Like you go to Kevin Wilkes talks, right? And you do demonstrations and speak on that. Um, what are some of the craziest pushback things you've heard, if you don't mind me asking? You don't have to name names, but I know you talk to a lot of people on a regular basis. Because I find it fascinating.
Yeah. So, there's always budget,
Okay.
is pushback on budget, which, I get,
Mm,
but
eh,
yeah, I mean, at the same time, it's probably one of the best bang for the buck on the market.
best. Yes, it
And,
is.
and you're able to, the way that we've developed it is everything's fully automated, right? The patient can
Yes.
walk up, type in their name, and then, press
Rock and roll.
couple buttons and then boom, it's rolling them through that automated protocol. And then it automatically generates a progress report that can be attached to the patient's note. And so that was one thing, like my mindset with technology is it should function as an assistant, not require an assistant. And so this is functioning as your, assistant that shows up 24/7, is never sick, is going to take the best notes for you. And it's going to help, with reimbursement, uh, being able to show that objective improvement time over time. But then also to the patient, to the parents, like it's showing them, hey, look, you're getting better. And
Yeah.
it's confidence. So there's the budget side, which like you said, like I would agree
Meh.
with that. And and then you have um oh, we have, yeah, we do, ladders, or we've got cones, or the dot drill mat. And then it's the whole start having to go through the external focus side of things. uh it's
So not getting it always, I guess.
right.
Okay.
And that's where, I mean, there's things that we can do to simplify that and try to convey that.
Mhm.
uh and maybe that's always something we can all do a better job of. But in the end, like I think we do all right in
I think you do
explaining
a
how to
I
keep
think you
it.
do a great job. I
Yeah.
think it's I mean my challenge really out there, and not to Kevin, number one, Kevin, you're a great guy. I mean, in 25 years in the industry, like working with like-minded people, like they always say, like in the outside world, you kind of find each other. The fact that like, we don't live close to each other, but we have the same like similar thought processes and want to like do right by your company and take pride in your work and make the world a little bit better place in our little sliver here. I've been so grateful to be able to like bounce ideas off you and pick your brain on that. You've been so open with the use of the QUICKBOARD and how we can better present it to our patients, that I challenge any PT out there to go talk to some of the vendors that maybe you have, but Kevin is pretty unmatched in that world with the explanation support and trying to get that out there. So I appreciate you, man, for sure.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate communicating that. And I mean, that's what you have, right? Is you want to take care of the people who trust you and trust your technology. And so that's why we treat every customer the same, no matter their size. And because we're all on the same bus, right? We're
Yeah.
trying to work towards improving experience and outcomes for customers. And so that goes for me, that goes for you. And so it's, I think customer service nowadays is really, you always hear the emphasis on it, but to be honest, I don't think many companies, they talk about it, but they don't necessarily do it.
Yeah, a lot of want and not necessarily. It's funny because my husband and I were having this debate, like true debate yesterday about a specific piece of equipment that he had purchased for my daughter that he did not appreciate how the customer service department ignored him and then like didn't speak to the actual problem. So we were going back and forth about it, and I was just chuckling a little bit because he was irate. He's like, I'm never buying anything from them again. And I was like, huh, I wonder how many people like realize that it's that quick to turn somebody off. I mean, we try to behave that way, and I know you behave that way, but I was just teasing him a little bit because I'm like, oh, so maybe you're the general population. I don't know,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. I mean, it's whatever it takes, really providing that customer service. I mean, that's going to be your best advertising, right?
well,
The
and your
online.
product does what you say your product's going to do. So, I mean, the QuickBoard does. I mean, hands down, not just anecdotally. There's research that supports it. I take pride in doing a deep dive into things before I put them in the, into play in our clinic, and really won't go anywhere else with this because it speaks to injury prevention, it speaks to post-surgical rehab, it speaks to trying to like close the gap and return to play massively, and it helps with especially getting away from the impact testing and concussions. There is something to be said for that, and that's always been the tried and true. I'm trying to find ways though that quantify what return to play looks like following a concussion that aren't just sitting behind a computer. And this was a huge part of that, huge win. And like, have you seen that for sure?
Yeah, so we do have, a concussion protocol for treatment, not return to play assessment, um, because that's where I think it, I mean, kind of where the impact is. I mean, you can use it for the return to sport as well, but also use the other, um, you know, technologies or tests. But for instance, on one of Kevin Wilkes' webinars, he had Dustin Grooms on there, and Dustin saw the stagger step, and they were talking at the end of, hey, what have you found with non-contact injuries, post concussion? Like, what's, in your research, what have you found? And so Dustin started talking about the corpus callosum and mapping, getting thrown to
Yeah,
the left and right side of the brain. And he said the stagger step should be a gold standard for concussion rehab because you're targeting that corpus callosum where it's a bimanual coordination. One leg's doing one movement and the other is doing an, different movement,
completely different patterning. Yeah.
and it's controlled, right? You can start off just, as a weight shift, and then they can speed up, and then we have other bimanual coordination tasks that they can do. So there's that impact, but then we have the go no go
Yeah.
task in there, targeting decision making, and then a discrimination task, which is what we call the array, where all of the active sensor locations light up various colors, and you have to find the react to color. And we're about to push this out, but we did add a variation of the Stroop task in there, where on top of the colors that appear for those two different tasks, now there's going to be the first letter of the color
Wow.
within the circle in the color. So you have to either react to the congruent, which is the matching, letter and color, or you react to the incongruent. So find the mismatch. And so again, we're trying to, layer on those cognitive processing demands to replicate the demands of just regular, everyday life, but then also sports.
So we definitely need to do a better job in therapy understanding. I think generally speaking, like I'm kind of a PT snob for the most part, and I've told you this before, and like I know I'm an acquired taste and all those things, but PT in general, like general PT, has gotten to the point where like surface PT is like a thing where we just kind of, all right, it's an ankle, we're gonna stretch it, you're not in any pain, you can walk, okay, carry on. But really trying to dig down to like going back as a wide receiver, you have to read so many things. Your brain is processing on so many levels to not worry about your foot position, and you need to cut a certain way and put your body in a certain position. So there's all these things that the QUICKBOARD is able to speak to, like you're saying, with color, letter, numbers. Sometimes we yell addition problems or subtraction problems to kids while they're on the board to try and like disrupt that thing where they can kind of keep going and mess with their score. They get mad at us, of course, but it is definitely a fun thing to do. But no, man, I mean, you've been like crushing it with this stuff, and I'm like so grateful. We like that you're willing to like talk to me because you're a busy guy and you're kind of famous. So I really
Yeah.
appreciate it.
No, 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 no. Yeah, you're just as busy, as I am. And it now, just to reinforce with trying to enhance those demands and transferability, that's why I sent you a message about the new capability, use additional iPads or iPhones to react to those as
Yes.
well, in addition to the central iPad. And again, it's just increasing demands and layering that on to really see if an athlete is ready, and then to rehabilitate them and train them in a similar fashion, because again, that's going to be more likely to transfer. So I'm really excited about that capability and launching that, because it's going to create a completely new dynamic that I think your patients, some are going to love, some are going to hate, but it's good.
No, it's definitely good. And the ease of which I just want to make sure that I get this my personal experience with this has been like pretty much flawless, in the sense that it immediately created more efficiencies within my workflow and created more time for me to watch things that I wouldn't normally be able to watch in such a short amount of time with multiple athletes. So that for me, giving some of my time back in the clinic to have those thought processes that are a little bit more higher level, I'm grateful for. So thank you for this, because it literally has contributed to the growth of our practice, how we treat people, how they perceive what PT is. And I am grateful for all the work, because I know entrepreneurship is not fun for for some people and sometimes. But I'm glad you stuck with the journey for this, because I'm benefiting from it. So thank you.
Well, it's because of people like you is why I'm still here. So
Dude, you're gonna be here for a long time, and hopefully just keep blowing up. So tell people if they're interested in the QUICKBOARD, can we tell them how they can get a hold of you and or your information about your company, please?
yeah, so the website, you can go to thequickboard.com, and so that does include
Yes.
TheQuick, BOARD.com, and also LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn and Instagram. The handle is the QUICKBOARD, and so yeah, happy to interact and with anyone who's interested in hearing more, and happy to jump on a call.
Yeah, man, please do it. Kevin's a great guy, and he's their customer service is second to none. So thanks for coming on, Kevin, and spending some time with us, even though I couldn't get on right away. Thank you so much.
Happy to be here and look forward to jumping on again, in the near future.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We'll definitely make that happen, and probably throw Taylor on there too, so you guys can geek out on the concussion balance stuff, because she's a total nerd when it comes to that. So
I'm all for it. Yeah, let's get it on the books sooner than later.
yeah, you got it, man. All right, guys, this is Kevin Martin, and we are out.
That's a wrap on this episode of Expect More with Dr. Andrea. I hope you're walking away with something real, something that challenges how you think about your health, your care, and what you deserve. If today's episode hit home, share it, leave a review, and make sure you're subscribed so you never miss the real talk. Because in a world that keeps shifting, one thing's constant. You should always expect more from your providers, your movement, and yourself. Until next time, keep showing up, keep asking questions, and never settle.